Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Focus with Crystal. I have a special guest today. I'm so excited to be speaking with Dexter B. Jenkins. He is a real estate and wealth developer. And guys, he's going to give us a wealth of information. So exciting, right? And this is something that this day and age, we really need to be discussing and talk about money. We need to be talking about money, wealth creation, like we talk about posting every day. Like we talk about social media streaming and like money talk has to kind of be like ABCs 1, 2, 3s and money talk. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel like you have to be today, Dexter, with family and the new generation and raising people and just in yourself alone to start having those money conversations, because I believe that through media and things of that nature, distraction, which the Bible speaks a lot about distractions. And then you wonder why you turn around a certain age, you like, oh man, why did I get here? Why did I get there? What happened? And most of the time, it's just mainly distractions.
Right.
And it can be family, friends, things, places, and people. It just depends.
Right.
So what I want to talk to you today about is how do we start to incorporate the conversation of finances and wealth and with our children and our friends, to make sure that if I make it, you make it. If I'm on, you on. That's how I look at it, you know?
Exactly.
And it's not about, it's all about me now, because we have to start thinking as a village. Because if
Correct.
we don't, we're going to end up in a situation where things are going to collapse and you're going to be a out. So come from your perspective. Let us know how Dexter B. Jenkins came about and your wealth knowledge.
Well, it started with thank you for having me on your show. Excited about talking to you and your tribe and those who are tuning in via the I call it digital veil. So some on YouTube, some will check us out later on. But when I talk to people, Crystal, I sort of grew up in a household where faith and finance mix. And my mom was a woman of faith, so maybe go to church every Sunday and da da da. And then my dad was a barber, but he was also a real estate owner. And so I grew up in a house where both of those were emphasized, equally. And so people say, well, how does a pastor talk this much about money? Well, because it's just how I grew up. And so I just carry that into what I do now. But to your original point of looking at, think about where we've come off over the last couple of years. So we've had a pandemic, we've had government shutdowns, and then we got this AI revolution. And so there's just a lot of things happening in our world that could impact people's money. And so in my book that we'll probably talk about a little bit, one of the opening lines I wrote was, building wealth is no longer optional, it's mandatory.
No, it is.
Mandatory.
It's
mandatory. And so it's got to be, so very much like you said, it has to be a conversation that we have at the kitchen table. It has to be a conversation we have with our children. It has to be a conversation that we're having within our village, because we're in a season where you have to put it on the table, and we have to learn how to not just be consumers but producers. And that's where I spend a lot of my time talking to people about.
Yes, because I believe today's youth kind of got it messed up, like far as what wealth really is.
Right.
Because they believe if I can go buy $150 tank top, or if I can go buy, the longest weave down to my butt, if I can go buy the longest lashes, if I can go buy the top human hair wig, I got my apartment, I got my condo. That to them, a lot of people is considered wealth. But true wealth is when your family, when you're able to take your seed and multiply your growth and able to handle and take care of your family, your immediate family, your mom, your sister, your brother, you make their financial, everybody's good. Because if I go out here and I spend $150 on a shirt and my mom is struggling, or my dad is struggling, or my sister is struggling, am I really wealthy?
Right.
Is that really wealth? Because at the end of the day, wealth is making sure your family and your significant others are good.
Right.
Because growing up, when I grew up, it was like we all had to pitch in. We all had to make sure, such and such walk such and such to school. You make sure that people get the cereal. And it's not today. It's like everybody each for their own. So when it comes to finances and real estate, a lot of people don't understand that it comes hand in hand, and we're not taught that because we are so taught to just get a place, just get out. A lot of Black people just forced out, just get out. So you're not planning, you're not taking these steps to plan. So what do you think, what can you comment in reference to family wealth and having that conversation to build so someone can have a home when it's their time?
I think you said a whole bunch, and let's start with wealth. Everyone has their own definition, personal definition of what that is. In my book, I talked about my grandmother changed my whole paradigm on wealth. One time, my grandmother died and she was 90, and she had 10 children, and so she would spend her summers in like Connecticut and New Jersey, and she would spend her winters in South Carolina. And so one time she was up in Connecticut and she said, "Hey, Dexter," she said, "I'm a wealthy woman." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because my grandmother was never a flashy person. I don't even know if she even ever drove a car. But she said, "I'm a wealthy woman." And then she explained it. She said, "Dexter, I could go anywhere I want to in this country and be taken care of." Now, catch this, Crystal. The reason why she said that is because she had 10 children. Now, think about having 10 kids.
Yes.
And having that multiplied with grandkids, great grandkids. So we're all out. My last name is Jenkins, as you know. So I'm all over we got people all over the country.
Yes.
So she'd go anywhere she wanted, and grandma didn't pay. And she had a place to stay. And so it really just shifted my whole thought process. Because at that time, I was probably in my 20s at that point. So maybe my 30s, but I was younger, a lot younger than I am now. I'm thinking like, wow. So wealth isn't necessarily in the abundance of stuff that you have, because that's what we got to share. Now, there's nothing wrong with this stuff because all of us are somewhat different. Some people like, I'm a very low key type of person. I'm not flashy. I don't wear a lot of jewelry. I wear a wedding ring and a cross. That's it. But there's some people who just they think they like bling. So it's not anything wrong with those things you mentioned. The thing is, if we're sacrificing it and not thinking long term and building wealth, that's where the problem comes in. Now, to your other point of how do we begin to think about it strategically, because that's what we're talking about today. And your point of just getting out and saying when somebody's 18, 19, 20, or they come back from college, you putting them out, well, you grown now, get your own. Well, you can do that. But what we want to do is we want to set them up so that when they do leave the household, they're buying, in my opinion, I think you should, if at all possible, you should have them buy a duplex. Now, duplex around us is, and you're in DC, so you know what a duplex is. A duplex is a house that has 1 to 2 units. It could be a triplex, whatever it is. But what I think is, if the plan is for us to build generational wealth and thinking strategically like that, I want to set my son or my daughter up so that when they leave my house, I buy them a duplex, or we help them buy a duplex. So they live in one side, rent out the other side. And what they're doing is they're living almost mortgage free, right? And so that they can build and stack money from there. And so we have to begin to think strategically for every generation. Now, so if that happens, and everyone thinks like that, now it goes back to what you were saying about the Bible talked about Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children."
Yes.
So if we're thinking like that, now that begins, it's no longer simply a scripture, it becomes something that's practical.
But why do you think that wealth is such a big, I don't want to say it has its advantages and its disadvantages when it comes to family and inheritance. One thing, I was watching your interview on Dr. Pam Perishow. And one thing she mentioned to you was, she asked you was in reference to inheritance and being able to why are people like, I guess, hesitant or nervous when it comes to building wealth? So instead of like focusing on it, I feel, and what my experience is, it's kind of like it's like a lack of knowledge, but a laziness in it, because it's like, I don't want to go through the pain of learning and teaching you. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know, so I have to go through the pain and the knowledge to sit and teach, learn, and then teach you. Exactly. So why not just go with the flow? And that's why you got a lot of people who on disability who really don't need to be, and then you got a lot of things, like a lot of people settling now. You know what I'm saying? They just settling. And instead of, it's like either you're gonna build now or you're gonna settle.
Well, and I think we're in the point. Go back to what my opening statement was: building wealth is no longer optional. Is what?
Mandatory.
Because listen, the systems that we have, because I talk a lot about in my book about coming against a middle class mindset.
Right.
Now, a middle class mindset is a dependent mindset, meaning I'm dependent on the government, I'm dependent on my boss, I'm dependent on Big Mama, I'm dependent. And what happens? What happens when the carpet's pulled out from under you, like we've had in this last administration? Where things that people have counted on for years, are being snatched away. Now, I'm not here to say whether it's right or whether it's wrong. I'm just saying that if we're thinking strategically and thinking smart, you need to plan for you to be good whether things are there or not. And so that means that I have to take it upon myself to become financially literate. I got to take it upon myself to read books. I got to take, because it's not taught in school.
Right.
So if it's not taught in school, not taught at home, okay, that means you got to take it upon yourself to learn these things. And so that means that I gotta stop scrolling on Instagram, Facebook. I gotta stop scrolling on. I gotta stop watching Netflix. And now I gotta put my head in a book, or I gotta put my head in a seminar, or I gotta put my head in a place where I necessarily wouldn't do it. And so it goes back to, I have to see it as being important. Mm-hmm. And so, that's always my message to people is you basically, Crystal, I'm saying like this, you got to want it.
You have to want it.
You got to want it. You have
to want it, because nowadays it's like, it's no excuse. Like you said, AI is here. And like AI it's a lot of opportunity for our jobs, but it's really not no real jobs. It's not really any security there. But with AI has created a world where you can be able to learn and educate yourself on wealth building and do that from home
quickly,
and not have to leave your home by just simply reading a book like yours, going on YouTube, looking at different things that you've done, and so many others. The Real Estate of Wealth Creator Blueprint. And I think this is amazing because the keys to overcoming fear, lack of money, and experience to possess the land. And I think a lot of people have that fear, and it comes from, especially our culture. I believe it comes from slavery. Like me being a Black woman owning land, I could not believe how much backlash I would get, not from outsiders, but from my own family, within my own family. And it's like, then when I went to try to get these things done, and I was hearing words like, be careful, from, high authority people when it comes to like developing my land. I'm like, damn, be careful. And even somebody even told me, you need to go to, once you start developing, you need to go, national with this on TV so people can know that's what you're doing for your safety.
Exactly.
And I'm like, as a Black woman, that's how dangerous it is for a Black woman to own land and develop. I have to protect myself just to develop my own
land. Something that's yours, right?
Something that's mine. And it's just been so insane with trying to develop land. And so my question to you as a financial advisor, for a person like me who inherited land, or somebody who might inherit property or even money, what would their next steps be once they inherit it? Would it be to contact a person like you and then set up what they want to do with their inheritance? How does that work?
Well, I think let's go back to what I used to be. I don't advise anymore.
Okay.
I'm an educator now, so I do books and classes and stuff like that. So usually, if somebody wants some intimate one-on-one advice, I point them in the right direction or whatever else. But the first steps would be if I got it, because it happened to me. I inherited some property from my dad 2 years ago, so I inherited actually I inherited two houses from him. And so it was so once I got let's go back to that. Let's start with that. Inheritance meaning we want to make sure we got our estate in place. And so now you start talking about, do I have a will or do I have a trust? And so that's a whole nother conversation almost, but we need to make sure that as people that the people who are coming behind us don't have a whole bunch of hassle to actually take possession of the land, because that's what a lot of times we lose it there. Got it?
Yes.
We lose it even, for instance, for me, we had to go through probate. Well, probate costs $25,000.
Wow.
Well, we had it, but think about people who don't have $25,000.
Yes, that's
to probate the estate, meaning that you end up losing stuff because you don't have the money to even take it through the process of doing it. So that's a whole other topic. But that's one of the things that we gotta. So that's why wealth is such a big. It's a holistic, strategic game plan.
Yes.
That real estate may be a part of it, AI may be a part of it, crypto may be a part of it, stocks and bonds may be. It just depends on intellectual property may be a part of it.
Yes.
So it really just
depends. Like a vine. It's just grows and grows.
Yeah, so it really just depends on what you're passionate about. I'm passionate about real estate. I'm passionate about intellectual property. I'm becoming passionate about AI. I'm starting to get more into that because I can see how I can use it in what I do now. It can never replace Dexter B. Jenkins, but it can help me get more things done faster, those type of things. But going back to the original question, I think the first thing you want to do is make sure you get it right, and then you begin to inherit it. What's the best plan of action? So in your case, you got land. So okay, do I want to use this land? Do I want to build on this land? Houses? Do I want to sell the land? So it really just it all boils down to what a person personally wants to do with whatever they inherit. Like in my case, I didn't inherit land; I inherited property. So what I've done and still in the process of doing is really just renting it out. So one is a commercial property that has a barbershop on one floor, and it has two apartments over it with 4 garages off. The other one is a duplex, 2-family house. And so now it really just depends on, once you inherit it, what's going to be my next step? What's going to be my next plan of next course of action?
All right. So thank you so much for that. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. So thank you, everyone who's already tuning in with us and who's going to be joining later. Dexter has given us so much information already. So if you want to advertise on today's Focus with Crystal, we do have 30 and 66 spots for advertisement. We would love to have you on the show, promote your business, talk about your upcoming events. All you have to do is DM or call 202-930-0058. Again, that's 202-930-0058. And ladies, if you have wigs that you don't want, don't forget about Wig Capital Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization that collects, recycles, and donate wigs to people who are in need. So all you have to do is go to facebook.com. Matter of fact, you don't have to take it from me. Check out this video.
Was at MegaFest. I'm actually leaving, and I happened to just by chance walk by the Wig Capital Foundation, and this young lady stopped me. I'm going, well, okay, I got a minute or 5 or whatever, and then began to explain to me what Wig Capital does for people who have hair loss, particularly those who have been afflicted by cancer. Well, I've been afflicted by genetics. My dad was bald when he was 19, so I picked up his genes. And I have been needing and thinking about, maybe it would be nice if you can, see that I probably need to do something more than what I'm doing now to better represent myself. And so I appreciated her professionalism, information, not push, just inform, answer my questions. And then this woman just gave me a wig. And if I can wear it, I will. And if I can't, I'll send it back. But I'm going, it's the right color. It looks like the right style. it was kind of cool. So those of you who are wondering if this is real, I'm a testimonial, and I'm testifying that it is.
And that is Wig Capital Foundation, guys. You can find them on Facebook.com. Again, that's Facebook.com, Wig Capital Foundation. Don't throw those wigs away, ladies. Donate them, recycle them. Somebody may be in need from them, especially in time for the holidays and the new year. Help somebody feel good, look good, and feel great. All right, back to Dexter. Okay, thanks, Dex. Yeah, so far as your charity, your wealth information goes, your book it seems to have so much information. What chapter in your book? I know you're going to say all of them, of course. What chapter? Yes. But what chapter you think that will grab the most attention when it comes starting to just even understanding the road to wealth?
Right. I think it's chapter, I think it's 1 or 2, because I write so much stuff. So sometimes when you write stuff, Crystal, if you've ever written a book, you almost forgot what you put in there.
Yes.
But the chapter that I think everyone should start at really deals with something that I call the poverty quadrant.
Okay.
And the poverty quadrant really deals with what I call the inner game of wealth. There are 2 games when it comes to wealth. There's the inner game of wealth, there's the outer game of wealth. Now, the inner game deals with your beliefs, your thoughts, your attitudes, your feelings towards wealth and money. The outer game starts when you start purchasing stocks, bonds, real estate, so on and so forth. And so what I really believe is if you're going to become wealthy, you have to become wealthy on the inside first.
On the inside first.
Oh, 100%. Why? Because we Crystal, we know this all the time. How many people we see, whether it's athletes, entertainers, someone who hits the lottery, whatever, they get this big windfall of money and then they lost it. And you're like, well, what? You went through 100 million, or you went through 50 million, or you went through 3, but what happened? Well, the problem was this. They got the money on the outside, but they didn't become wealthy on the what? The inside. So now if you don't become wealthy on the inside, you're going to lose what you got on the outside. And so I talk a lot about that in chapter 2. I believe it's chapter 2, where I talk about the poverty quadrant and how, and you said it earlier, you said a lot of times those things that are on the inside of us will put on the inside of us. So what we learned in school, what we learned from Big Mama, watch out, baby. What we learned in church, the money is the root of all evil. So we have all this head garbage going on. And so now you're out here trying to navigate this thing called life, and particularly with your money. And you almost have this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde personality around it. You're really not there. I talk a lot about being having financial alignment or financial congruence, meaning I got to be congruent on the inside. I have to understand that it's okay for me to want to be wealthy. I got to understand it's okay for me to want to, to own real estate. I got to get that in me. Now, when I have that, now I can begin to go out and do what you're doing, execute, buying land, inheriting land, flipping property, or whatever strategy you use, because those are just strategies. Whether I buy land or whether I fix and flip or buy it, those are just strategies. But the thing is, I got to go to work on the inside first. So that I not only, because this is the deal, Crystal, not only do I want to get it, I want to be able to keep it, but watch this, I want to be able to pass it on.
Yes.
And so, and then those are 3 different things.
Yes.
I got to learn how to get it. I got to learn how to keep it, but then I got to learn how to pass it on too. So in my case, when my dad passed on property on to me, well, my job isn't to lose it. My job is to maintain and to build on that. You know what I mean? And so that's what, I talk a lot about in my book, and just really getting people the mindset. And then I go into some of the tools that you may need in order to do that.
Now, one thing I can say, like, as a young person, I got my wealth very young. I was a millionaire. I got my wealth very, very young. And so a lot of people nowadays are getting wealthy young.
Right.
And so I really didn't understand money at the time. So I was giving away money. I was giving away money like I was Oprah. You get $100. You get $100. Everybody get $100. Like I was just, what you need?
And you get one, and you get one, and you get it.
Everybody knew they could come to me, and I mean, everybody knew they could come to me. I mean, and I was giving it like it was like I was giving out the money. And now that I'm in my adulthood, those same adults that was coming to me for money is looking at me like, you grown. You need help. What you mean you need money? I'm like, y'all was grown when y'all was coming asking me for money. And now I realize that I should have never been giving away my money. I should have never been so charitable and so giving and so, you could just go to Crystal.
Right.
And a lot of times, especially like when you get young and you have some type of status, you want people to be like you, the go-to person, you the person that, I made it, you know what I'm saying? Right. Like, so a lot of rappers get into that as well, when they get all these people around them and you just feeding everybody just feeding, the next thing you know, you don't have no money, or when you fall into something short, you can't go back to those same people that you so-called invested in because that's what you did. Right. And now, I say to myself, if I knew what I knew then, I would have never I would have told them, no, sir, I don't care how much money I got. No, I ain't got it. I'm sorry. You got to be down, about to lose your house, about to lose your car. You got to show me the blue, the yellow letter. Yeah. You got to show me the kids with the snot and the food. Ain't no free. I need to see it from my house. Because other than that, people would take your money and they would spend your money and then talk crap about you when you ain't got no more money, when they helped you spend your money. Right. And so it's like, a lot. That's why I say the knowledge about wealth. And I think a lot of times we are inexperienced, as you said, 100%. On your book cover, because I was inexperienced. I was 21 with that kind of money, and ain't no way. But I knew that I wanted to have a business. I knew I wanted to do this, so I did invest the money. Right. But somebody did say, well, once you buy a house or real estate, but I was too worried about. I'm like, I don't know nothing about no real estate, but I wished I would have. Because I at least would have known something. I would have had something, but now I have land. Right. So it's two different worlds. It's still the same thing. But again, I'm still sitting in a spot where I'm inexperienced. I don't have knowledge. I don't have anywhere to look for guidance. Right. So like, what do you recommend to a person who's in that situation?
Well, I think you said a lot. And I think a lot of times what we like to do is when we get on, so to speak, we like to bring everybody else on.
Yes.
And that's a great sentiment, but we have to have parameters around how we do it. Meaning, I'll help you if you're helping yourself. Now, if you sitting around doing nothing, I ain't helping you. Right. So there's this great book by a guy by the name of Garrett G. Gunderson. He is a guy I like to listen to a lot of his stuff on YouTube and read his book. And he talks about the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers have their wealth for they're like on their fourth or fifth person who is still having wealth because of the original like dad and mom, and it's because of how they set it up. See, as a Rockefeller, they couldn't come to the mom and dad Rockefeller and say, hey, look, can you hook me up with something? As a matter of fact, even Barry Gordy said this when he was starting his stuff. They had a family office, and what you had to do was if you had a need, you had to come to. Matter of fact, Barry Gordy said his sister, and you had to explain to her why you needed the money, and she would either say yay or nay. Wow. And so he said that when he wanted to start matter of fact, when he wanted to start Motown, that's what he had to do. He said he had to ask her for, I forgot how much the money was. It was like $500 to $1,000. She approved it, and then that's what he used to build Motown. And so so there has to be something where there has to be a process where if I'm helping people out, I'm not enabling them. What I'm doing is I'm giving them a leg up so that they can go out. It's the old proverb, as opposed to giving people a fish, teaching them how to fish.
Yeah.
And so that's what needs to that's what needs to happen. I'm going to give you this, but I'm going to make sure that, or I'm going to insist that you read this book as I give you this money, or you come to this course as you do this, or because it has to be this thing where that they're learning how to become independent off of you. You can't
Right.
keep coming to me every time you got an issue.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's what we have to do. But to the other question of when I inherit something, now what I have to do is I got to get a mentor of some sort. Now, sometimes mentors can come through books. Sometimes they can come through you actually taking some sort of courses. But that's the first thing you got to do when you come into something like that. You begin to educate yourself. Now, years ago, Crystal, when I recognized that, because I'm an only child, I recognized that I was the only child and my dad had these assets that I was going to come into. I said, you know what? Because I recognize it's important for me not only to get it, but to keep it and learn how to pass it. I started plugging in. I started reading books. I started going to seminars. I started going to in every city or every town, there's something called RIAs, Real Estate Investment Associations. I started going to those local meetings and start networking and talking to people. You can do it on Meetup now. You can do it on LinkedIn. There's a lot of ways you can start networking. But I had to get myself around people who were doing what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Make sense? So that's what you are right now. Okay, who else I know? Who out there has inherited land? What did you do?
Right.
Now you begin to get educated around to do. Now, sometimes you got to pay for it. Sometimes you don't. Just depends on what it is. But I think your next step, and anyone who's listening to us, if you're coming into something like that, like I did and like you did, you said, now I gotta get myself educated on what do I need to do? What's the most profitable ways for me to make this this land, this real estate, whatever else, most profitable, so I can begin to get passive income off it. I can begin to get tax breaks off it. I see all those are all the things that you see in my book. I talk about success is a language. Money is a language. You see, there are languages that you have to learn. Well, you don't pick that up most of the time in your household unless your mom and dad talked about it, or they don't pick that up in school. See, wealthy people have a totally different language, a totally different vocabulary. So even some things we talked about up front, where baby, you better watch out. Well, and like for instance, one of the things that most people have a problem with is this thing called debt. And if you have a middle class mentality, for the most part, you've been trained to be afraid of it. You've been trained to, baby, don't go into debt, or baby, don't do this, or baby, don't do that. Well, people who are wealthy understand that that you can use now that can be, you can abuse debt. Obviously, you can do that, but they understand that you can use debt as a leverage tool to go ahead and do some other things. And so that's just one thing I talk about in my book as well, is that wealthy people understand how to intelligently use debt. So they're not using it to go out there and get some laughter. They're not using it to go out there, and get a whole bunch of clothes stuff. But they're using debt to be able to buy assets that will appreciate for them and also give them cash flow.
Yes, because I believe that once you educate yourself and you put yourself, one thing you said is so true, is once you start to change your mind and you decide, like, I'm doing this,
yes,
you definitely start to seek out other individuals of like-mindedness.
Correct.
And you find yourself isolated because you're trying to say, okay, these people, these are the people I want to be around because this is the knowledge I want to find out. So in order for me to find out this knowledge, I need to find out where these people are.
Where they hanging out at?
Where they hanging out at?
Where they hanging out?
Yeah.
That's where you got to go.
You gotta go where they at. You have to go where they at. And so, the amazing thing about it, I want to shout out Miles. He's one of my mentors for a long time ago, but he's the one who told me to come into the speakers event. And I'm so glad I did, because being in that atmosphere triggered something in me.
100%.
And the thing about it is, I call myself, okay, so I'm an entrepreneur. I've owned beauty supply stores. Like I said, I've been a millionaire. I've done all these things, right? and a book author. And I be trying to downplay myself sometimes. I'm like, look, I just want to be, I'm just a hairstylist. I'm just going to do some hair. So when I saw him in front of the Howard University, Howard Theater,
yeah,
and he stopped me and he was like, Crystal, you coming to the event? You here at the event? I was like, no, I'm around the corner doing hair. Like, I'm working at the hair salon.
Right.
So he was like, oh, no, you need to be in here.
Come up in here. You need to get up and listen right here.
He like, you need to be
in. You right on in. Come on in. Yeah.
He reminded me of who I am and
that's good.
What my potential are and what my goals are. Because sometimes we get distracted and we get tore down and things happen in life and finances are not where we want to be. So we don't feel like we deserve to be in those rooms or we're not ready to be in those rooms. So when I left him, because like I said, it was just in passing. And he was like, come back at 4:00. They're going to start at 4:00. So I go in the salon and I'm sitting there, I'm debating with myself. Like, should I go? Shouldn't I go? Should I go? Should I go? I'm like, girl, you're just doing hair. Like, just do the hair. And I'm like, no, I'm a boss. I'm an entrepreneur. You know who you are. I'm like, am I going? Are you going? Am I going? I said, you know what?
I'm going
around this corner. Let me get around this corner. Because I never know. I said, let me just see what God gonna do. Because God always amazes me. It wasn't a coincidence that I ran into
him. At 100%. Nope.
So
it was what I call a divine appointment.
It was because when I went in, it just invited me. It just welcomed me so in. And I was like, to see Dr. Pam up there talking, and then Rashawn, and then all these other great individuals speaking. And so I just was excited to be in the room. And so I didn't really mean to have anything of it, but the wealth in me, the wealthy me, got up and mingled and worked that room.
Right.
That's what I did. And I wasn't in top attire. I was in hair salon attire, stylist attire, right? Do some weed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So Rashawn was taking pictures and everything. And I was like, look, I got land. I need help. I'm wealthy. I'm one of the wealthy ones.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm looking, but hey, So if being in the room opened the door for me to recognize and initiate and relighten that wealthy person inside of me.
Exactly.
Because at that point, I was just a struggling stylist. Just finished hair school, just finished barber school, stylist, and I put all my entrepreneurness aside. But then when I walked in that room and I met Miles, and he realized and he saw in me what I closed down.
Right.
It just relit the candle. So like what you just said is so true. Involving yourself around the people that you want to be, what you want to do, being around those people are so important. So what person have you came into contact with that changed your life?
Girlfriend, I couldn't name one. It's always God puts the right people around you when you need them.
Okay.
Got it? So for whatever stage that I need, so whether it was my basketball coaches in high school and college, or whether it was when I was doing network marketing, I met somebody at a meeting. That's why I said that what your friend Miles was a divine appointment years ago when I met I met Dr. Pam. I don't know if she's watching today, although she'll probably watch a little bit later on. But, I'm listening to a podcast and I'm like, oh God, it's her and this other sister. They were talking about some of the things we're talking about, but they were talking about how to get out there and get known. That's Pam's specialty as a publicist, is to take your gift and put it out there. So she has a program called Get Out There and Get Known and a whole bunch of other things that she does. And so, I went, gave her a call, just a couple of things. And so, almost everybody I've met over the last 4 or 5 years has been a direct connection because of me connecting with her. And so my point being is God, and then I've met other people in real estate, other people in other parts of finance. And what God will begin to do is when you you said something that's very powerful. You said, when you make up your mind, this is what you want to do. One of the things I talk about in my book is this. The most important thing you have to do to get started in anything, that we're talking real estate now, is you got to decide you're going to do it. Now, when you make the decision you're going to do it, all of the resources, people, all that will come your direction. Probably one of the biggest things, Crystal, people don't do, they never decided they're going to be wealthy. It would be nice if I could get it, maybe, okay. They got all these other, no. The first thing you got to do is decide, look, I'm going to do this. Back to my original statement. Building wealth is no longer optional. It's mandatory. Got it? So if whoever watching, if you don't get nothing else out of this talk,
it's mandatory, guys.
Take that with you. Building wealth is no longer optional, but it's mandatory. And I'm going to decide I'm going to become wealthy. Now, once the decision is made, man, you'll start seeing opportunities all over the place. So whether it's, and what we're talking real estate, or whether it's being, you in the hair salon business, the other thing you're doing, matter of fact, you got another thing going. You got media stuff going. You got a lot of stuff going on. And so God will begin to show you where your lane is, but you got to make the decision. Once you make the decision, now things begin to open up for you.
Yes. And, it was such a blessing to see women like Kelsey Nelson get an award, and, just to see Dr. Pam up there talking, and just see all these amazing women in the DMV that's doing it, and it's amazing that we can come together and congratulate each other on our successes.
Right.
And one thing that I realized is that wealthy people do seek other wealthy people. That's what networking is all about.
Right.
And that's what these conferences are all about. When you have
it's about relationships.
Business
takes place between people who like each other.
I believe that's the first currency of wealth. When
100%.
It's your social. I went to Florida. I go to Florida. I'm a snowbird. So when it get cold in DMV, I try to
you out. Yeah, I hear you.
I gotta get away from snow.
Yeah.
I try to go to the beach. So when I was there, I just was people watching, and God just showed me. There's where I became an ordained minister, and God just spoke to me and just was showing me the difference in social economics,
right,
and financial economics, and race, and I learned Florida is the perfect place to go to see nature, God mixing in together, and people on different levels of wealth,
right,
and social economics.
Right.
And social economics to me is the most important thing, because you could be the poorest person in the room, but your associates, the place that you are, the people you're around, will create that wealth that you won't even feel, think, or even move if you are poor, because you're surrounded by wealth, and eventually it's going to show in your pocket because of the surroundings, the environment that you put someone in.
It becomes who you associate with. There's a Proverbs, one of the things I recommend people do, actually in my book, and just if you ever hear me talk, I always talk about the Bible, in particular the book of Proverbs is the best business and finance and money book out there.
Yes.
So, what I recommend people do, read one chapter in the book of Proverbs every day, and then one chapter of the New Testament every day. But sticking in the book of Proverbs, there's a Proverbs 13:20 say, "He who walks with the wise becomes wise." So it becomes that Proverbs is telling us is who you associate with. So if you associate with wealthy people, you associate with smart people, you associate with people who are going places. Guess what? If you hang around them, boom, it's going to happen to you.
Yes.
That's just how that is, and so that's why it's imperative to get in those rooms. It's imperative to get on these podcasts and get on this place where people are talking about elevating and going to the next level. Because what it does, it will, like you said, it will excite you. It will, I heard a guy say years ago. He said you can't aspire to what you have been exposed to. And so a lot of times our exposure level is low. Well, if you're only exposed to people who are making $20 an hour, and then I'm not knocking, I'm just throwing it out there, $20 or $40 an hour, you're like, hey, but now once you start getting in the room, the people start talking about making $1,000 a day, $10,000 a day, $1 million in a day, it just expands your paradigm. And that's what you got to do. You got to, if you want to lift your current situation, you've got to shift your paradigm.
I totally agree with that. And one thing when I started my wealth journey and creating wealth and going into entrepreneurship, I researched and studied the top wealthy people. Like I literally just studied Tyler Perry.
Yep.
And wealth creation, sometimes we are pushed into it, because Tyler Perry, he was already on his journey,
right?
But he was pushed into building wealth because of discrimination and all the things that he was getting in Hollywood. He wasn't happy, and a lot of them, unfortunately, a lot of Black actors feel the same way.
Right.
So he saw a gap that was hindering his wealth building opportunity. So he turned that around and created his own economical system. And a lot of times I feel like we as Black people, we all have the power to create our own economical system. And that's why we have so much backlash from society, because we are so resourceful in that manner. We can bake pies, cakes, we can sew, we can crochet, we can do hair, we can do lash, we can create things, we can, all these things could just come out. And if you go back to a lot of things that was invented, like from the stone wheel, from the refrigerator, all these things come from Black people. So we're very resourceful.
Very resourceful.
We can create without having to have a job or a team. It's nice to have a team. With a team, you can build and grow faster. But we are naturally economical systems, I feel, as Black people. Yeah. And sometimes when we don't have that other economics where we bring ourselves around other people, like me being in contact with you and, being able to build yourself around people and say, look, hey, if I can't get in, like Tyler Perry did, if you're not going to let me in the door, I'm going to create my own door. And that's what this podcast is for me. This is my way of creating my own door to access wealth and to reach and access wealthy individuals, even in knowledge or financially, to help uplift not only me, while I'm also learning, but I'm also acknowledging and lifting other people. And that's what I believe true wealth is, being able to share your knowledge and uplift your wealth. So when it comes to real estate as a blueprint, a lot of people go into Airbnb and think, okay, I got an Airbnb now, I'm gonna make money, but that still is a lot of work in itself, because you have to maintain and all those things. You talk about the new trend of Airbnb in your book and real estate in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at everything as a strategy, and strategy shift based off what's going on in society. So, and going on in your area. So, the main thing is having the real estate, and then now you can figure out what to do. So, do I want to do Airbnb? Do I want to do Verbo? Do I want to fix and flip? Do I want to buy and whole seed? The real estate, or it could be just the land is just what I'm going to use to monetize it. Right. And so now those are just different strategies. And so it depends on what you like, what you don't like. Because some people like, look, I don't want to have nothing to do with, I don't want to have nothing to do with no Verbo, Airbnb. I don't want to deal with people. So they may, just hire a property manager and rent it out. And then there's some people who like to be hands-on. So I think it's really on your own personal thing that you like. And then also there's some people who they don't necessarily want to get involved hands-on real estate, but they have money. And what they'll do is they can fund your deals. And so the great thing about real estate, but also the challenging part about it, that there's so many different ways to get involved. And so what you have to do is find out what your interests are, how much time commitment you want to put into it, maybe how much time, money you have. And so, those are all different questions that you have to ask yourself as you're getting started.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I know I've learned a lot today, and it's been very awesome talking to you. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break again, guys. So don't forget to get Dexter's book. It is out. It is available. It is ready. All y'all have to do is go to his website, and that is
DexterBJenkins.com.
DexterBJenkins.com. It's below on the screen. So you can go
Yes,
on
so
his
it is.
website.
Yep.
You can find out a lot of things in reference to what he offers. You can ask him questions. It's a really nice website. It's very readable. It's easy to go through. So, and then you can go, once you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the actual, where the book actual is on the page. I'll show it to you in a second. So I'm so excited because in a few weeks, we're going to be having an awesome guest on the show. Miss Holly. She's going to be on the show talking about her 30 years of experience of natural wellness, herbal medicine, and how farm growing ingredients can transform your health. So, in today's time, we're trying to keep it healthy. We're trying to keep it cute. It's about to be a new year. We got to keep it healthy. We got to keep it cute. But we also want to keep it sweet. So we're going to go to our pastry bar. So for you guys who are celebrating this holiday season, if you have a holiday party, you want to do something creative and something different, you can check out the pastry bar. All you have to go to is pastrybar.godaddysite.com, shop, and book a party. It's like your own Build-A-Bear, but with donuts, Rice Krispies, or a cookie. You could build it from scratch, have your own party. It's adult and kids friendly. Holiday season is here. Do something unique this holiday season and have a donut party. Exciting, exciting. And don't forget, if you want to advertise here on today's Focus with Crystal, we would love to have you on the show. We would love to advertise your event, your upcoming shows, workshops. All you have to do is call 202-930-0058. And we want to thank our sponsors today, the New Some Awards, as well as I Love VIP Nails. Thank you guys for your sponsorship today. And we're back with Dexter. I'm so excited to have you here today, Dexter. It's exciting to have you here. And, people really need to know about wealth building and wealth creation. I believe that's the most important thing. And if you could give your younger self or somebody who's coming up, who's experiencing having with wealth, or they're saving up and they're trying to build wealth, give them some steps. Like somebody who just graduated high school, what would they learn, and how can they start investing in real estate to get started?
Well, I think the first thing when I'm talking to young people and people just in general, because I think if you're alive, you're young, and I think a lot of times people count themselves out. You alive, you young. They count themselves. I'm 40, I'm 50. I'm like, well, that don't mean anything. Colonel Sanders started KFC like he was in his 80s or 70s and 80s. He was what they would call an elderly person and started something. So a lot of times we count ourselves out. I'm 40, I'm 50. My best days behind me, baby. Your best days in front of you. So that's always my first message to you. But then, I talk about really tapping into your particular gift. Whatever that is. So some people have a gifting in what you do with their hands, with the doing hair, and then sometimes they have gifted with their talk, like I am. I'm a pastor, and I also do some of these things. So find out what your gift is, what your passion is, and then spend some time developing. Now, if you want to get started in real estate, go back to what we said earlier. I believe the first thing you want to begin to do is educate. First of all, the first thing you have to do is decide. And then once you decide what you want to do, then you begin to educate yourself on the different strategies, and then find out which one is going to be beneficial. So for me, my wife and I, we start out fixing and flipping. Now that may or may not be your strategy. I don't know, what your passion is, but the first thing you got to do is go back to what I said is, make up your mind. I'm going to do this. Secondly, now begin to get your education. So now I got to read books. I got to get in some of the room that you and I talked about earlier, and then take it from there. So
that's excellent. So today's, like I said, this conversation needs to continue to be had. People need to continue to talk about wealth and wealth creation. And real estate is so important because you hear people talk about real estate. I remember I invested in this real estate CD before, and I heard it on the radio, and oh, we gonna be in town, and da da da. And I was going to the conferences, and then they was like, I want $10,000. I was like, oh no, I can't afford it. I thought you said it was free. So I kind of like got out of it because I was like, this is too costly, you know. But my ex-boyfriend, he was in it a lot, you know, and he did a lot of open houses and stuff like that. And he was like, one of the things that he learned from doing real estate is that, you know, you would never really run out of opportunities because people always need a home, like you
always
said.
need a place to stay, and God is not making any more land, you know. So it was, he ain't doing that, and so that's why I believe real estate is one of the things that, you know, it should be a foundational component of your wealth creation journey. That may not be the only thing you do, but it should be a part of it, you know, because I think, and I think people really can relate to real estate because it's tangible. Yeah. I can live in it, I can touch it, see it, walk on it, you know, where a lot of other things may not be. And so I'm just a big proponent of real estate because of what you just said. It's tangible. It has great tax breaks to it. You know, one of the things that you will find is that people who become wealthy, one of the things they go to real estate because it has great tax benefits. You know, I talk about that in my book, but you know, it's definitely an asset class that I believe everybody should at least explore. You know what I mean?
Yes. So, guys, again, if you guys want to check out his book, The Real Estate with Wealth Creator. Guys, he got the blueprint, y'all. He's telling y'all he's laying down the blueprint. And if you're inexperienced, you just don't know what to do. You got, you know, bad vibes behind it. He's helping you get through with that anxiety, which I think a lot of us have when it comes to wealth building and building wealth. So I just think this is an awesome opportunity to continue this talk, and you will always be needed, and your book probably will never go out of style because people really need to have this conversation nowadays. People don't realize we have a president that is an entrepreneur. Trump is an entrepreneur.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? He's a businessman.
He's a businessman.
He's a businessman. So
whether you like him or not, he's a businessman.
Whether you like him or not, he's a businessman. And I believe in a lot of ways he's pushing society. You're gonna either get a job or you're gonna either open up a business. It's no in between anymore. You know, it's like you gotta believe in yourself or you're gonna have to get a job.
He has ripped the Band-Aid off of a lot of things. And you know, and so, you know, whether you like it or don't, you know, whether you go pro-Trump, anti-Trump, or in the middle, it really doesn't matter. And so it goes back to what we've been talking about. Building wealth is no longer optional; it's mandatory. You got to do that. Also, Crystal, if they go to my website, there's also a free download there as well.
Do you see your website?
Yep. Scroll down all the way to the bottom go to the footer.
Okay.
If you go to the footer, if you can get there, they can also download my ebook as well. See that right there?
Yes.
They can download that. Learn this. That's called the SHIP method, which is what I call the secret sauce of building wealth.
Wow.
So they can also download that ebook there. That's their gift for just checking out my website.
All right, guys. So you see that you got a free gift just for checking out the website. Learn the secret sauce to building generational wealth using the SHIP method. I'm excited. I'm definitely going to download it. I'm so excited about this, Dexter. Like I said, your website is so nice and it's well put together and it's easy to go through, guys. You can see a lot of different things about Dexter here, his news and media releases. If you want to book him for a speaking event, he has, you know, I'm sure he has opening for speaking events. Like right here, you can book him and say, Dexter B. Jenkins for the next event book. Okay. So you got somebody who is well-knowledge, well-rounded, and, you know, is a people person. And so we're just going to tap on this quick video really quick. And then we're going to say goodbye.
Hello, my name is Dexter B. Jenkins, and I am your faith-based financial mentor. And I'll be answering a question there. How do you make a financial comeback? And I believe at some point in our lives, all of us are going to have to make a comeback financially. I mean, you may be making a comeback maybe because you went through a divorce, or maybe loss of a job or a business, or maybe you got sick in some medical bills, but whatever the reason is, you find yourself having to make a comeback. And so I want to answer that question today. And my tips and my principles I'm going to share with you has come over the last 2 decades as I.
All right, guys, you're going to have to watch the rest for yourself.
That's right.
If
they want to make a comeback, they got to watch it.
They got to watch the comeback. If you guys want to get more on that, you got to check out his YouTube channel. It's Dexter B. Jenkins on YouTube. So he has, like I said, a lot of things. You can also go on his website. Again, that is www.dexterbjenkins.com. And don't forget, today's Focus with Crystal. We thank you so much, guys, for tuning in with us today. Thank you, Dexter, for entertaining us and giving us wealth knowledge that we definitely need. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Make sure you guys check us out. Today's Focus with Crystal on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all those great things. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day.